Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got a membership website for sale in the marketing and online niche, making just under $5,000 a month in net profit. The site contains expert interviews, a forum with user-generated content, and acts as a one-stop shop for online and offline network marketers. The list number for the site is 40086. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the sellers and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller Chris with us today to go through the site and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. What's going on, Chris? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Justin. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
By the way, this is Chris Yates. He actually ran the Rhodium Weekend event in Las Vegas that he was wonderfully nice enough to invite us to, and we had a blast. So just want to thank you again for, bringing a bunch of buyers and sellers together so we can, meet up in person finally and, talk business and strategy and buying and selling websites. That was awesome, man. Yeah,
it was a great event. The main thing for me was that we didn't have anybody ask for their money back, so I was happy about that.
That's good, yeah.
It was a great event. We appreciated having you guys out, and great to meet you in person.
No refunds is a great sign. All right, man, let's do a quick introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in building and running websites online?
Sure, yeah. Well, it started when I was 15, and I went and bought my first computer. No, I won't go back that far. I'll just give you kind of a quick gist. But I started a marketing service business, provided graphic design, website development, online marketing services, things like that. This was probably back in 2004, 5, 6, something like that. And I realized that I just really didn't enjoy working with clients, and so I had this sort of dream that I'd be able to have a portfolio of online money-making websites. And so my business partner at the time sold his company, and I ended up selling my service company, and we both sort of had money to work with, but we didn't want to start totally from scratch and work with clients and have employees and all those kinds of things. So we're started looking around for ideas, and we came across a training program on how to go out and buy websites. And so this was probably about 2009 where we officially started doing it. So that's what I do full time now. I have a portfolio of sites that I manage, and I occasionally buy, and I less often sell sites.
So you're more of
for the long term.
You're more of a build or buy and then hold. You do sell off a couple of sites here and there. This one in particular, you actually bought this site earlier this year. Tell me a little bit more about this site specifically. Like, how did you find it? How did you buy it? What was the process there?
Sure. Well, do you mind if I go back a little bit farther than just that to really explain it? But so when I first got into this business, we were buying sites on auction websites and things like that. And we started realizing, man, it's not a really good place to be in terms of a negotiation position, to be in the middle of a bidding war. So we started looking for other ways to get potential sites to buy, and started going to brokers and things like that. And really what we ended up with is, man, it'd be great if we could start getting our name out there as people who are looking to buy sites in this space, looking to buy websites. And so we started doing that and bought a couple sites in the niche and to kind of get our names out there. And this was actually somebody who came to us looking to sell the site. The original founder of the site, who founded it back in 2008, was looking to exit. He had I think he was looking to launch a whole new business and just didn't quite know what to do with the site. The person who was running it was wanting to kind of wrap up with it and go on to his next thing. So he was looking to sell it, and he just kind of came to us.
So basically getting your name out there and letting people know, hey, we're open to buying sites, kind of opened the opportunity for you. Someone brought you the site, said, hey, looking to sell this, and it just kind of, in this particular instance, it worked out. I know we get some of those too, where people are like, oh, I want to sell my site with you, and we're like, well, tell us about it, and well, it doesn't have any earnings yet, but it's going to have so many in a couple of years. We're like, oh, that's not really going to work for our platform, but I appreciate the effort. So
yeah, it's true, though. I would tell you, because we probably 90% of the sites that people have almost probably 95% of them have no earnings. Probably 90% of them have no traffic. So We just have to kind of nicely explain that, we only buy sites with traffic and revenue, even though it's totally plastered on the site and everything. So I think people see dollar signs when they hear somebody wants to buy a website. So
tell me a little bit about this site, how it makes money. We were talking about this before we got on the show, but tell me about like the primary monetization and kind of the strategy in terms of making money with the site.
Okay, so the site makes money in a few different ways. The core of this, and one of the reasons that I originally wanted to buy this site, is it has a subscription model. I'm all about sites that are not just one-off commissions and things like that you never see, that you always have to go out and get new traffic and things like that. I like sites that have a stickiness to them, if you will, and this site has that. Essentially what the subscription is it's a membership website. It's a community-based website for people in the online marketing, internet marketing, and network marketing industries, for them to connect, share with one another, share on the internet, to themselves as experts, and in doing so to generate leads for their business or opportunities that they have. So the benefit of the subscription model for the members of the site is that they get basically three things. They get the community, they get access to premium content, they get traffic and leads because of the fact that they're positioning themselves as experts through the community, and I guess this is number 4, but they also get the ability to give them a badge they can display saying that they're a member in good standing and that they fit our sort of criteria for being a member in this industry. So there's roughly about 200 or 300 paying members on the website. They pay either monthly or annually on a recurring basis.
Okay, so mostly subscription-based. They get to position themselves as experts and connect with others and be seen as an expert in the space, and so that's why it's valuable to them. You got a couple hundred paid subscribers and adding more. How long does the average paid subscriber last on the platform?
So it depends on how you calculate it. Like if I run a number that calculates it at somewhere around, the average monthly person stays about 5 or 6 months if you were to take across the entire spectrum. Now, if you were to take it based on how long, like we have people who've been in there for several years, since like 2008. So it's sort of a hard number.
The average
calculate.
The average is not a great metric because you've got some that have been there for years, where a larger percentage, even 2 months or something. I get it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
I can tell you in this industry, it's pretty much like, 3 months is what you would expect, but we get people that pay the annual up front, and they get a little benefit for doing that.
Okay. Aside from subscription revenue that you're getting, Chris, are there any other add-ons? What additional monetization do you have for the site?
Yeah. So on the subscription side, I love it because it covers all of our costs and makes us money just by itself. But in addition to that, the site also has a couple other ways that it makes money. So one of them is through selling advertising spots to people in the industry. When I'm saying that, a buyer might be thinking in their mind, oh God, that means I might have to go find people to buy ad spots and stuff like that. But the nice thing is that we actually have a guy who knows everybody in the industry who we pay on a commission to sell the ad spots for us. And we charge either $3,000 for 3 months ad spot or $1,250 a month with a 3-month minimum if they want to pay monthly.
Okay, so you are getting some money additionally from the ad spots on the side, and I think there's opportunity for upsells in terms of the subscribers as well. You definitely have a free forum there as well. I think that you could probably draw in more paid subscribers from. Let's talk a little bit about the niche. Why did you get into this? When they brought this site to you, why did you look at this and go, yeah, I think this one's a winner. I like this niche.
Yeah. Well, before, if you don't mind, there's one other method of monetization, which can be pretty substantial, which is the site has a mailing list. It has other areas where you can advertise different types of things, but it's all affiliate types of revenue. So we do affiliate promotions to the list and probably bring in another $1,000 or so a month from that as well. So, but as far as why I bought this site and specifically this niche is because people in this niche are hungry. If they're just getting started out wanting to make money online, or they just got started out in a network marketing business and they're trying to figure out how they can get traffic and leads, that is a huge pain for people in this industry. And there are a ton of people in this industry. So that was what really got me excited. The other thing was that this site, everybody I talked to about this site was, oh yeah, I love that site. It was like everybody in the industry knew about the site, and it had this brand recognition, this authority established that I felt I could really build upon.
Okay, so you were thinking, as a community, like you knew that this niche, it was very hard to acquire leads. People looking to get started, it was one of their primary concerns, and this was solving a problem for people just getting started off in online business or network marketing specifically. And then you just saw an opportunity for yourself because there was, great brand recognition, because the site, was well known by other people in the space. Let's talk about why you're selling it. Now, you bought the site a little earlier this year. It was actually built back in 2008, so the site has been around for quite a while. But you bought it, and now you're looking to sell it here towards the end of the year. What's your reasoning for selling the site? Why don't you just keep it and grow it?
Yeah, good question. There are a few pieces to the puzzle, but the main one is I'm just not too excited about network marketing. I'm not in the business. I don't do network marketing. And I think I sort of lost my passion with the site, honestly. And we also have a few other pieces to that puzzle. Like we have an outside investor who wants to exit the site, and a couple of things like that, which are sort of irrelevant. But for me personally, I just don't have the passion for the industry.
So you don't dig it personally. You're like, I'm not in the space. I'm not doing the business. There's an opportunity here. It's just not my opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the plan for the cash when you sell? What are you going to do with the cash when you get it from the sale?
Good question. Actually, I probably will go buy another website, I have to pay off one of the investors in the site. Probably too much information, but yeah, that is one thing I will do with the cash. And then aside from that, I'll probably look for my next deal.
Chris, honestly, I don't think it's too much information. I think people are really interested in that. So you have an investor. Is this a passive investor? Is this someone that's not at all actively involved in the site, or is it someone that you guys work with and make decisions together on the site?
So technically, he's 100% passive. I'm the management company of the asset. He brings the money to the table, right?
Yeah.
However, it's really great to have an outside perspective on things from a purely like fiduciary or just a financial perspective. Like he looks at the numbers in very black and white and gives me his perspective, whereas I'm in the weeds running the site and I see all these opportunities that we could do and things like that. So from, in terms of making decisions and things like that, we meet monthly and we talk about how things are going and those types of things. So it's not totally, him being 100% passive. It's more of like, him giving his perspective, but I'm actually the one who makes the final call.
So he looks at some, financial guidelines and plays in more of an advisory role where you're in the trenches and you're the one actually, picking through and digging and working on the sites. I love the model, to be honest with you. And that's something we want to get into with our investor model, in the coming months and years. So I'd love to talk to you a bit more about that. Maybe we can have you on the show at a different point to discuss that. I think it's really interesting. To continue on with this listing now. So you're planning to, obviously you're going to pay off the investor. You're going to take some cash and put it into another site for yourself. The site was built back in 2008. Tell me a little bit about like how successful it was when it started off. Do you have any idea from the original owner? Like, did it start off really slow and build up gradually, or was it a quick success?
Oh yeah, I think it was a quick success because the guy that founded it, not to tell you his name at this point, I'd be happy to share the information with potential buyers, but he had a big following already. And when he launched the site, he sort of brought his community with him when he launched the site. And I can tell you that in its heyday, when they were really rolling with this site, it was doing 20 to 30K a month, just, sort of net on the site. So, I think it started off well and really got rolling, and then they moved on to something else and sort of let it sit back in like 2012, 2013. And then I bought it this year and have been, kind of trying to revitalize the site and kind of thing.
Okay, so it took off. Yeah, it took off initially with some big name recognition, someone bringing their name into the space, and it was doing really well. They kind of let it linger on, moved on to other opportunities. It was sitting around, and you saw an opportunity to pick this up and said, "Hey, I think I can do something with this. I still think there's opportunity here now that it's settled down a bit." So that was your going after it. What have you tried with the site? What have you done to the site? First, give me an example of something that you've tried to do that just didn't work for whatever reason.
Something I did that didn't work. Well, okay, so this kind of goes back to one of the reasons we bought the site, but one of the things we were most excited about with the site was the list. the ability for us to monetize that list was really one of the reasons we were really excited about this site. So early on, we probably made the mistake of not adding value right away and just going right to promoting and launching affiliate products and things like that in the beginning. And then we sort of went back and started, we should probably provide some value to this list before we start selling them stuff. But so early on, I would have just nurtured the list and built up some trust before, pitching something. However, with our first promotion that we did, we still did pretty well with it. I think on one webinar, we brought in like $1,500 or I think it was between $1,500 and $2,000 just from one mailing webinar. It was like a 30-minute webinar.
Gotcha. Okay. So from your perspective, you probably went a little too hard after the list when you first purchased it. That's probably good advice for the new buyer when they take it over. They might want to do a little bit of nurturing first to kind of like, test the waters a bit so they can start to build that relationship with subscribers. Let's talk about the subscriber number, by the way. How many subscribers does the site currently have?
I think it's somewhere in the 60 to 70K range. We're getting last I checked, about somewhere around 200 to 300 new subscribers per week. And we've been, so it's just always growing. So I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. I could look it up for you. But it's somewhere in that range. And what we do is about every couple months, we just delete anybody who hasn't opened an email in a while. So we're constantly kind of cleaning that list out.
Gotcha. So yeah, I've got the listing. I got 60,000. After cleaning out the inactives, and you've also got a database with 200,000 members who've registered. Now, the registrations are for the free forums part of the site. Is that correct?
Or they're paid members. Yeah, basically anybody who's ever wanted to become a member for the site.
Cool.
So we have people, like the way the funnel, this is an opportunity for somebody, but the way the funnel is set up, people can just opt in for our mailing list before actually becoming a member on the website. So people who have actually, entered a username and password in the website, it's over 200,000.
Okay, great. So you've got, that's a pretty big list, a pretty big, potential community to pull from.
Yeah, and one of the things you can do with that list, and this is a tip for anybody who's looking to buy a site, is you can use Facebook's custom audiences to load all of those email addresses and market to them on Facebook.
That's a great tip. And that's for someone who maybe had visited the site, put their information in, and kind of like, I'm not really that interested in it, or ended up, leaving a few months later. Now you can hit them up on Facebook. You know that they're clearly interested in the industry or in the space. That's a good opportunity to bring them back into the fold, so to speak.
And it's different from remarketing. You can actually, in Facebook, you can enter all of their email addresses in there and market to them. So that's kind of a cool thing that not everybody knows about.
What I meant is that you're getting another chance to market them, or you're remarketing them.
Oh, yeah.
Not from the remarketing.
Without having to mail them.
Yeah, exactly. Not just a remarketing perfect audience type approach.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. And it's cool that Facebook has that. I know a lot of people are doing Facebook scrapes, where they're scraping other audiences and then uploading them and targeting them. I know that Facebook has not been so keen on that recently. They've been shutting that down, a lot of the scrapers and stuff. What did you learn from, working on the site that just worked, that was just, you found to be really successful and something that you think the new buyer should take on as well?
The one thing I would say that I was just like constantly pleasantly surprised with is the ability to sell advertising in this niche. People are dropping a $1,000 a month to advertise on this website. And we actually got to a point where we were able to support 2 advertisers at a time. So we were, generating a couple $1,000s a month displaying banner ads. There's no cost or anything to that other than the commission I'm paying to the guy. But that's the thing I was like, man, all I got to do is drive traffic. And if I can drive traffic for less than the cost of what these banner advertisers people are paying, then man, I could just keep piling on these advertisers.
It's funny sometimes when you're like, who are these guys that are advertising with me? How are they getting a return on their, how does this make sense? I'm cool with it. I'll take it. But how does this make any sense to them? On the back end that they're making money on it, they wouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah. So.
Did you, is this something you think you can apply to other websites or businesses you own? There's an opportunity for advertising, especially in a niche like this. It seems like there are advertisers, tripping over themselves to give money to sites that have traffic in this space. Is that something that you're applying to any of your other sites? Do you have other sites that are in a similar position to where they're in a great niche for the advertiser model?
Yeah, I've done a little bit with, I used to sell links and things like that on some of my sites, and I've actually since stopped doing that. That was pretty lucrative because a single text link, in the right industry, you can make a ton of money with, but it's so against Google's guidelines and stuff, so I've kind of stopped doing that. But one thing I am excited about, I know, yeah, I hate to admit it, but yeah, this was back before, early on when I was buying sites, and I didn't really know at the time, what was a sustainable business model and what wasn't, and what was really black hat and what was not.
Yeah, for sure, man. There are plenty of people that have been selling links. It's just funny you're like admitting to it. It's like, oh God, I hope no one at Google's listening to this. They're going to come after you, man. They're going to take down your sites. Well, you're going to get penalized and de-indexed. And no, just teasing you.
Well, I stopped doing it. That's the thing. My name is Chris, and yes, I sold links, but it's been however many years since my last link. So,
Yeah, right. It's almost as if you're like breaking the law. I mean, there's no law that you're breaking with selling links. You know what I mean? But that's how it feels. That's how Google make you feel about doing anything that's against their guidelines. Let's talk a little bit about traffic and earnings. How does the site get its traffic now? Give me kind of a breakdown on like the organic versus referral versus direct versus social, like how people find the site today.
Yeah, I mean, it's direct is actually, in this particular case, which is somewhat abnormal, is one of the top traffic sources. I actually don't have the splits right in front of me here, but I know it's the number one, and then Google Organic is next. The site has, if it's not 1 million, it's close to 1 million pages of content. So the site is pretty huge. So it gets a ton of like long tail, random things that people are looking for. And then, there's other referrals that we get that's sort of less consistent, but those are probably the two big ones. And just on the direct traffic, when I bought the site, it was one thing I was a little bit concerned with, but the reason I was okay with it was because, and this is me speaking for myself, but the reason I was okay with it at the time was because of the brand recognition that this had and the fact that in network marketing, everybody is talking to everybody else because of the way that the system is. If you are in the business and you have, 5 people below you and they have 5 people below them, they're all talking to each other about, oh, check out this site, Better Networker. And so that was my thinking was, man, the site has the brand recognition. So that's probably why the direct traffic is there.
Plus the community and people going back and discussing, I'm sure they have it, saved in their browsers or in their bookmarks and that kind of thing. So that makes sense. And plus it's been around for quite a while, so people coming back to the site. Tell me a little bit about the earnings. What percentage of the earnings comes from the subscription? Is that half? Is it 75%?
Yeah, I think it's about, kind of depends on the month and when I was doing affiliate promotions and things like that, but it's roughly in the 3 to 4K range on average. Some months it's been 5 and 6K if we're getting a bunch of the yearly renewals instead of the monthly renewals happening. And then, so yeah, it's a good chunk of it. I would say, just roughly doing the math, probably about 3 to 4K a month in subscription revenue, about $1,000 a month in advertising banner ad spots, and then another 1,000 plus in affiliate commissions. And some of the affiliate stuff is recurring, so it's not like we always have to be promoting something, but yeah, that's typically what we're seeing.
Great.
That's some big months though.
Yeah, in terms of the earnings and kind of like the stability, it looks like you had a couple of really big months in like May and June. Those were up. And then the earnings dropped down again in July, and then we're back up a little bit in August, September. What were the reasons for the big jump up in May and June?
The reason for May and June was mainly because we were doing those affiliate webinars and monetizing that list real heavily, as I had mentioned. And those were when we were getting paid out on some of those. And then in one of the months, we happened to have a lot of it was like the perfect storm. We had a bunch of affiliate commissions happening, and we also had advertisers prepaying for 3 months in advance and things like that. So, probably if you look at the advertising income, you have to figure that some of them were prepaying for 3 months. So you take 3,000 of that and split it over 3 months, and it sort of evens out the earnings, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay. So it looks a bit streaky based on people paying their annual or their 3 months, or, advertiser coming in and paying for a few months in advance. Okay. That makes a bit more sense. Now you said that there's, a ton of content on this site. You said maybe 1 million pages or more. Talk to me a little bit about how that content is generated. I can hear a buyer thinking to themselves, oh my God, I'm not writing 100 pieces of content a day. What are you doing for content on the site?
Yeah, I mean, it's a community-based site, and why people are there is to contribute content and get their name out there. So that was the founding principle of the site, was that people would join the site and they would write content to contribute on the website. They would be on the forum, posting on there and creating threads and things like that. So it's a combination of community-driven content, so paying members contributing content in the form of articles, in the form of videos. There's even the ability for people to post audio files in there, things like that. And then the other side is the forum, and each thread could be potentially one or more pages of content.
Awesome. So most of the content on the site is currently user generated. You're not creating a bunch of content or having a bunch of people at TextBroker write up all the content.
No. We're not doing. What we do for content is I do a lot of interviews, because again, community-based site, you want to make the star the people in the community. So we do a lot of interviews when we can. I shouldn't say a lot. I wish we did more, but we do at least one a month, usually about 2 a month, and we'll split them into 2 parts. So we'll do, like, say, a 45-minute interview with a industry expert who's a member on the website, and we'll just kind of email people and say, hey, are you interested in doing an interview for the site? And most people are willing to do it, again, because they want that brand or their name recognition out there. So then, we'll split it into 2 parts.
Cool. So you can take your paid subscribers and give them an opportunity to be highlighted, get seen, and then promote content on the site, get more people out there, and share their information with some of the other forum members and then some of the other paid subscribers as well. That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what why people love this site is ultimately it's because they get leads for their business, and the more that you can do as the facilitator of highlighting really good content and getting and rewarding people for being really good members of the community, the more the site's just going to keep growing.
All right, Chris, talk to me a little bit about opportunities here. Now, let's say we're buying this site. And by the way, in terms of buyer profiles, I was thinking about this a little bit. I think this is there are others, but I think a lifestyle Larry could take on this business. So someone that, wants a lifestyle. Maybe they are sitting in a cubicle, or they've got a nice executive job. They're just done. They've got some cash. They want to buy this and they want to move to, Bali or Bangkok or something. This is a site that can be run from anywhere in the world for sure. And I really like this in terms of someone looking to kind of break free from the 9 to 5. This is a job killer site. I think that's pretty cool. If I wanted to, let's say, take a really non-risky path to growth here, what would you focus on, or what would you recommend doing? If I don't want to take any risks, I just want to kind of grow it slow and steady, how would I go about doing that?
Okay. So number one, you'll notice in the financials that there's about $1,000 a month, between $1,000 and $1,200 a month in hosting expenses on the site. And we actually have a dedicated web server and a dedicated database server for this site to run it. And if you can find a really smart server administrator to move this over to say, something like Amazon's EC2, or there's another site, and the name is escaping me right now. I apologize, but there's another one that's actually less expensive for hosting services. You probably get the hosting costs, within the first 30 days down to like $300 a month or less, just by finding a smart server admin to work with. And so that's something we originally were going to do, but we ended up focusing on the top line instead of cutting expenses.
Okay, so you were looking at adding revenue rather than cutting expenses, but you think that would be a relatively safe way to do this, is to go ahead and switch the hosting to cheaper hosting and see if you can go that route. I also think, you said you weren't doing a ton of interviews, you're only doing about 1 a month. I think there's opportunity there to just improve, highlight more of the subscribers, get them a bit more attention, add more content that way. What would you do, Chris, if you were incredibly risky? If I wanted to take this site and I wanted to double, triple it inside of 12 months by taking some crazy risks or opportunities, how would you go about doing that if you went balls to the wall with the site?
I certainly have other ideas in terms of safe things you can do. I've never actually tested AdSense, so I think you could probably make another chunk of money just by throwing AdSense on the site. But anyway, in terms of things that are more ballsy, what I would probably do, and actually what I would think would be pretty fun to do, would be create some kind of a SaaS offering to this market, whether it's a contact management system or something like that, and just totally revamp this site and make it like the Facebook for network marketing. I think that would be pretty sweet and could take this thing pretty big. But the other thing that I think, in sort of a more realistic view would be to do an online summit. So you've already got the experts on this website. Just get them together, record content of them, and launch it over a weekend. Charge, $100 or $200 per ticket, and then make it free for paying members of the site, or charge them a lower fee, and then take the content that's created from that and put it into the premium membership on the website, and then use that to promote more exclusive content for people to subscribe to it. So in short, an online summit. That's actually what I was planning to do with the site prior to deciding to sell.
I love that idea. I think it would be a bit more time intensive, right? That would take quite a bit of your time in trying to coordinate it. So, but it wouldn't be terribly expensive. So you wouldn't risk a ton, I think, in terms of spend. It would just be, it would be heavy on time. So I get why, it's something that you've got a lot of other websites that you work on or run or own. So, spending that much time on this one might be a bit rougher.
One other big recommendation I would have before we go to risks is I would recommend finding one industry name to partner with on this website, and find somebody who has a big audience, who already is known in this industry, and say, hey, let's work together on this thing. Let's make you the face of the site. That right there is the biggest thing you can do to grow this thing.
That's something that you weren't able to do because you're not in the niche. I mean, you don't know the business. You don't know the industry. You have no name recognition there. So that's not something you were able to apply. If you were keeping the site, you think that's an approach you would take in terms of bringing on another network marketer that can bring the community and audience to it?
Yep. And I actually have a few people that are open to doing it. That I just didn't realize that until 9 months after owning it, that's really the path to growth. So that's actually, whoever ends up buying the site, I think can learn from that lesson that I learned. It took me a while to learn it, but now
it's one of those things where you don't necessarily realize it right away. It takes a little bit of time to, I should probably do this. This might make sense for me to make more money. And we do that a lot. Let's talk a bit about the risks, though. What do you think are some of the biggest risks for potential buyers of the site? What should they be aware of?
Biggest risks would be, number one, that you don't keep up with the community. You got to service the community because they're who are paying this thing on a monthly basis. So give them good stuff to consume, highlight them, like I'm saying. That's probably the biggest key. Aside from that, be careful with, hosting costs and the tech side of things. I would definitely recommend that somebody work with somebody who's smart on the tech side of things. The reason we're paying, $1,000 or $1,200 a month is because we have a really good managed hosting company who's running it for us. But if you have somebody in your contacts who are really smart, just make sure that they really know what they're doing and keep the uptime of the site, solid and things like that. Those are probably the two that come to mind.
What do you think about this, Chris? And looking at the site, it's very old school. Now, it's built on Drupal, which for the non-technical, the people that prefer WordPress, I could see that being a bit of a challenge in terms of a purchase. But it's built on Drupal, and it looks like an older website. Do you know what I mean? Like more than 2008, like pre-2008. And I think, it's one of those risks, I think, but I think there's opportunity there to really revamp it and make it look much more modern. But that's always a risk too, especially with like the sites like e-commerce websites, for example, where sometimes that kind of older website look and feel builds trust with customers. So do you think that the older look and feel here is trust, or do you think it's just that it hasn't been revamped?
Honestly, I'm almost embarrassed to have my name on this site because of the way it looks. The way that I can explain that is, hey, I didn't build it, but that's no cop-out. So you're not hurting my feelings. But anyway, yeah, I totally think the site needs to be redone. It needs to get up to either the current version of Drupal or switch over to some other platform other than Drupal. If I were to go to WordPress, I'd probably look at WordPress combined with something called BuddyPress, which is a kind of like a social networking add-on to WordPress, and convert the two. And there's lots of people who out there on the web who do that conversion and things like that. Cool. But at a minimum, I would say, just rebuild the site in the latest version of Drupal and import everything, and sort of get a nice clean slate, all up to date, a clean look to the site without changing the core branding of the website and message. I think that would be a pretty safe path.
Chris, let's talk a little bit about the work required for the site. We're looking at probably somewhere between 10 to 12 hours a week. Can you run through that a bit for me and kind of explain the work that's required on this?
Yeah, so We do a email newsletter once a week. So we pull good content from the forum and from the website or from interviews that we've done, and we aggregate that into a single email newsletter that goes out on, we're doing it currently on Mondays. Sometimes it goes out on Tuesdays, depending on workload. So that's one thing you got to do. And, it's basically just picking stuff from the website and then condensing it into an HTML template and then sending out through our email system. So 3 main steps there. So that's one thing. The other is that we have a trouble ticket system. So when somebody wants to cancel their account or somebody wants to not actually upgrade, they can do themselves. If somebody wants to, let's say they're having a problem with posting on the website or something like that, we have a trouble ticket system and there's tickets that come in every day on that. So that's one other thing. You have to manage those tickets. And we've written out systems for all the major categories of tickets on those. There is the forum. We're pretty tight with moderating the forum. In this industry, you tend to get people coming in, like trying to promote their coolest, latest thing, even though they're not adding value to the forum.
Yeah.
And then you tend to get spam and stuff. So what we do is we moderate the first couple posts that people have before they can post without moderation. So we do moderate that, and that's a task that needs to be done. Both of the tickets and the moderation are done by my virtual assistant. It costs me about $300 a month for a half-time person. And that only takes her, I think, maybe an hour a day, if that. So it's really only costing me about $5 a day.
Is the virtual assistant coming with the sale?
No.
Okay, so your VA doesn't come with the site, but you do have systems and processes in place that you'll be able to hand over to the new buyer who can, give to their VA.
Yeah, the VA does have time available, but it's really, I don't think it would be difficult to take the systems and train a new VA on it.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about some additional information, Chris. One of the concerns with buyers is they want to make sure they're buying a site and that you don't immediately turn around and, steal the customer base and start working in the same industry. Would you be willing to commit to a non-compete in terms of, not poaching the email subscribers and the customers and subscribers, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Same thing I asked for when I bought the site. So I definitely feel that's something I'm very happy to do and wouldn't do it otherwise.
Great. Okay. And how much support are you willing to offer buyers? Now, even though I love the fact that you do have kind of like systems and processes in place for the VA work that's done and that you can turn some of that over, that'll make the transition a bit easier. But there are a couple of more moving pieces with this than a traditional, let's say, Amazon or drop shipping site. How much support are you willing to offer buyers of this website?
Yeah. Well, number one, I would make sure that anything they need to run the website, whether it's the ticketing system, whether it's the merchant account, any of that stuff, I will make sure that all gets transferred seamlessly, that they're able to handle all of that for sure, before we talk about any other support that gets done. So I'll make sure that I'll do the hand-holding that needs to be done in order to make sure that they get everything they need to run the site and for it to continue running seamlessly. Beyond that, I'm kind of the guy who, if you hit me up on Skype and I'm in the office, I will answer by text anytime. Same thing with email. I'm a little bit slower with email, but I can't remember actually what I said in there, but for sure during the first month or so, whatever you need in a given week, as long as it's not crazy, like 10 hours a week or something, I can totally do that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'm happy for sort of emergency text-based or email-based support. That's no problem for me at all.
Cool. Okay. In the listing, we've got 3 months of email support, up to 5 hours per week of support via Skype for the first 4 weeks as the site gets transitioned. And then after month 2 and 3, 1 hour a month on Skype for like emergencies or something that happens. So I think that's actually fantastic. That'd be great for transitioning the site. We currently have it listed at just over $90,000. Are you open to a split or an earn-out on this? Let's say, for example, 70% up front, 30% on closing or after the training's been accomplished, maybe 60% up front, 40% over the next 4 months based on hitting certain goals, something like that?
Are you okay if I answer it this way? Make me an offer?
Sure, absolutely. I know you, Chris, and so I think I can say this pretty clearly that you're willing to make a deal. So you want this deal to go through and you're willing to adjust your expectations and how the deal will go to match the buyer's needs in terms of getting the deal done. So I'm excited to get this one done for you, Matt. I think it's a really good potential lifestyle purchase. I think there's a lot of content. There's a lot of moving pieces to this, But for someone to get in, kind of get their hands dirty, I think there's a lot of opportunity as well.
I think so too.
All right, man, let's do a quick wrap up. This is effectively a membership site in the online marketing or online networking niche. The website was created in 2008. You purchased it in early 2014. It gets about 30 to 40,000 visits. So we just got in the last 30 days. The average monthly profit is just under $5,000. This is $4,800 a month, and that's averaged over the last 8 months. The work required is about 8 to 12 hours per week. Mostly that is dealing with moderation in the community, answering some in the ticketing system, and then sending out a weekly email on Mondays or sometimes Tuesdays, depending on the workload. Chris, can you give me your best pitch in, let's say, 30 seconds or so on why someone should purchase this site?
Sure. I would say that the site has a solid base of subscribers, and it's something that is on a recurring basis. That's not something you typically see from, say, an AdSense website. With an AdSense type website, you make money once when somebody clicks on an ad unless they're coming back to your site all the time. Whereas with this site, somebody signs up once and you continue making money from them in the future. Number two is the site has very strong brand recognition and traction in this industry. So you're not getting a site that somebody can just knock off tomorrow. I mean, this site is not one that a competitor can just come in and copy and steal your keywords and things like that. This is not a site like that. Third is that you're getting, I'm going to probably go over 30 seconds here, so feel free to cut this out. But third is that you're getting multiple methods of generating income from this website. You know, you're not just relying on one that could be wiped out. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You know, you have affiliate revenue, you have advertising revenue, you have subscription revenue. And lastly is that you've got a big list to monetize. And, you know, the business these days is all about attention, and this website has, you know, hundreds, if not, well, a couple 100,000 people that you can potentially get attention from and monetize. So there you go.
Cool, Chris. Appreciate it. I really like the subscription-based model and the recurring nature of the website. I think there's opportunity there. I think that provides stability. And then it has had a lot of attention in the past. I think it needs revamping. I think it needs someone either who knows the industry really well, or as you said, can partner with someone that has some name recognition in the space. They can put their name on an already well-established website that's got some traction. And I think there's some opportunity there. Anyway, Chris, I really appreciate having you on, man. Thank you for sharing the details behind your site for sale. And we'll hopefully be talking to some depositors and potentially a buyer here in the next couple of weeks that we can get this deal done.
That'd be great. I look forward to working with whoever pulls the trigger. I'm excited.